Hi guys, Bertus Education here with episode 11 of the HTML web programming tutorial series, and in today's episode we're going to be showing you how to create the structure of a website using HTML tables. So this is a relatively old-fashioned technique. However, what you can do is actually create the structure of a website using tables. You can do this by essentially just defining different heights for each individual cells, creating them for each type of area on the website, and so on and so forth. So what I've done here is I've created a very simple diagram for you to take a look at to see what we can do with tables. So you can see here I've got a pretty generic site structure for a website. You can see I've got a header up here, I've got the content area, and then lastly I've got the footer. And I've also put a bunch of different values for each individual area here so I can easily create it. So you can see here I've got the header being 15% by 80%, the content area is 70 by 80%, and then the footer is 15 by 80%. And this is sort of, generic. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly show you a website on the internet which you can use to see a reference of this. It's all straight down the middle, and there's different areas. You've got the header area here, and then you've just got the content area, you've got the footer, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing I do want you guys to keep in mind is that you're not necessarily limited to what I'm creating here. You can use what I've learned to go ahead and create your own sort of website structures and layouts. So let's just go ahead and get started. So what I've done here is I've created a very basic mock-up of this just to show you what you can do. So I've got the header, I've got the content, and now I've got the footer. And you can see that it's all formed by a bunch of different cells and rows. And, I'm using various types of content inside of these different little cells here just to show you that this is a viable option. So let's just take a look at the structure of my table here. So first and foremost, I've defined the width of the table to make it 80% of the whole screen size. I've set the height to 100% to make it span the entire height of the page. Then I've got 3 table rows with a single cell inside of it, and the first row being for the header, the second row being for the content area, and then the third row being for the footer down here. And you can see that I've defined individual heights for each and every single one of these. So let's just go ahead and get started and create our very own little table like this to form our structure. So I've gone ahead and deleted that, refreshed, and we're now on a blank canvas. So from here, let's go ahead and start off by actually creating the table using the table tags I've shown you in the previous video. Now inside of this we're going to need 3 different rows, each of those for the different areas in our site. In this case, one for the header, one for the content area, and one for the footer. So let's just go ahead and create this. So table row tags, TR tags for each table row, and then it's going to do this 3 times because we need 3 of them. You are free to go ahead and just copy and paste this if you like. I've completely messed up that last set of tags there. I'm just going to quickly edit that. So once we've done here, we've got our 3 different rows. We don't have anything inside of it yet. The reason for that being that we don't actually have any cells. So let's just go ahead and create some. I'm just going to quickly clean this up for you so you can see very nice and easily what we're doing. So inside of these table rows, I'm just going to go ahead and create a individual cell. Now, as I said previously, you're not just necessarily limited to one cell. You can use numerous cells if you like. So let's just go ahead and take care of this. So let's go ahead and use the TD tags just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put those inside of each row. And just like that, we should be done in a moment. And boom, we are now done. So let's just go ahead and save and take a look at what we have. We don't actually have anything yet. The reason that we can't see it is because, there's no content in there, that we haven't got a border, we haven't defined this, the height, and so on. So let's start off by giving it a border, and I'm just going to go ahead and set this to 2. Now, as I showed you previously, to set a border, just type in border equals, and then inside quotation marks, just go ahead and set it to whatever value you like. And now you can see we've got the table with 3 rows, but they don't have heights. So let's just go ahead and define the size of the table overall before we can actually change specific cells, we need to define the height and the width of the table. So let's just go ahead and set the width to 80%, and then it should start to span across the majority of the screen here. And then we need to set the height, and we're going to set this to 100%. Just like that, and now you're going to see that it's actually starting to look somewhat like we want it to. Now, all of these little cells here are using the exact same height. Now, we want different heights for this because, you know, in a website, usually the header and the footer is smaller than the content area, you know, to make the content more prominent and be able to fit more in there. So let's go ahead and define the height of these cells. So in the header cell, I'm just going to go ahead and set this to 15%. And you can see that I'm getting these values from my little diagram that I made previously. This header is 15%, the content is 70%, and then the footer is 15% once again. So just keep that in mind. So let's just go ahead and do this. Height equals, and then 15%. And let's just close that off, and let's take a look at what what's changed. So refresh, and you can see it's now similar to size to what we want for the other one. However, you know, the last two cells are still exactly the same. Let's go ahead and set that to the right height on here. So height equals, and this content area was 70%, and then the footer was 15%. Let's just go ahead and do this. Now, keep in mind, once again, you are not limited to the sizes that I'm using. Let's go ahead and refresh now, and you can see that we've pretty much got exactly the right sizing that we wanted. And if I go ahead and move this along, you know, it will start to look a little bit more like my little diagram that I made previously. Now, if we want to, we can go ahead and put a bunch of content inside of here. So let's just go ahead and do that. So inside of here, I'm just going to go ahead and put a quick header in here saying Virtus Education. And, you know, I'm just doing this to show you that you can put any type of content you want inside of a table, just like you would for a website. And now, inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and put in an image, and this is in the content area. You know, usually you're going to fill that up with images, text, lists, and so on and so forth. So let's just go ahead and use the image tags. I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and find a Google image or something like that from, you know, Google Images. So let's go ahead and do that, images, and I'm going to steal this copy image URL, and I'm going to dump this straight into here. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh so you can see what we've got inside of here now. So now you can see that, whoa, this is too big. So I'm just going to quickly change the height on the width. So I'm going to change the width of the image here quickly. Now, whenever you are making whenever you're making structural stuff, you are going to have to pay attention to the you know, images that you're using, or any element, just to make sure that it is the right size. So I'm going to set this to something like 70% width, you know, the whole table being 80%, and it should go back to normal just like that. So you can see here now what we've got is some text in the header area, we've got some content in the content area, and a blank footer, but that doesn't necessarily matter. So what you should be able to do from here is be able to create tables to form the structure of a website. Now go ahead and play around with that, try a few different you know, types of website. For example, if you wanted to, you can split up the content area, you can remove the footer, and so on. But yeah, this is pretty much the method that people used to use to create the structure of a website. Now, when we get to the div section of this series, we will be showing you how to do that. But for now, this is pretty much everything I wanted to show you in this episode. Thanks for watching, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.